Hi, this is Derek Murphy of creativity.com, helping you become creatively and financially independent. Today I'm going to answer a question I get asked very often by email, and that's how do you get your book into bookstores? I'll tell you how to do it, but I'm also going to recommend that you don't try to do it because it's not the best use of your time and effort. But starting out, here's the way bookstores work. They're a business, they try to make money. It's easier for them to stock the books that are bestsellers, proven to sell, so that they can push a lot of inventory, and they're not going to take so much risk on newer books that aren't proven yet. So the way to get your book in bookstores infallibly is to have a best-selling book. Sell a lot of books, sell a lot of Kindle ebooks, and bookstores will order you because you're selling well on Kindle. Otherwise, you may not want to be in bookstores. And here's the thing, you want to sell a lot of books, you want to build your platform. Those hard copy, those print books that you sell in bookstores, they're not going to be your biggest margins. They're not going to make you a lot of money. And if you're putting them in bookstores on consignment or something, it's going to be a lot of effort that's not going to pay off as much as other things you could do that are much less effort that'll sell many more books. If you want to get into bookstores, you can usually contact smaller bookstores or indie bookstores. However, even indie bookstores especially indie bookstores are businesses that have to struggle. They're not huge chain bookstores like Borders, and even those bookstores are having a lot of financial trouble. Smaller independent bookstores are also trying to make a living and trying not to go out of business. And if they always accept all of the self-published authors, because there's thousands of self-published authors trying to promote their books, if they accept all those authors into their bookstores, they wouldn't be able to stock all the best-selling books that really make them money, and it'd be a much riskier business. So it's funny because you would think indie authors and indie bookstores should go together really well, but it's not really the case. And indie bookstores, even though they're devoted to this independent business model, they need to make money and they can't take so many risks trying to support indie authors. However, if you try hard enough, you can probably get stocked in indie bookstores or even bigger bookstores like in Portland. I'm from Portland, and there's Powell's bookstores, which is pretty famous. 10 years ago when I started writing self-published books, it was hard for me to get into Powell's. And one of the ways I tried to do it was I would take some of my books, because you can sell secondhand books to Powell's and they'll buy them cheap, but then they'll be on the bookstores. So I brought in some of my books to see if they wanted to buy them to put on the bookstores, just to put some on the shelves, even if I was losing money. And the clerk told me, we've already had several of your books come through, and because they keep track of everything, they said some of my books came in and they went out again really fast, which proves that my books are resellable. So he suggested I contact the buyer to try to get them to purchase more books. And I did that until they found out I was self-published. And over the phone, he kind of just shut me down. He just said, we don't work with self-published authors. The reason that a lot of bookstores don't want to work with self-published authors is because they're used to ordering in bulk directly from Ingram, because it's easier for them, because they can order hundreds of books, they can have one invoice, they can pay one bill. If they have to work with like 100 indie authors, they have to keep track of all these different employees, all this different money. They have to figure out like how to keep track of the $8 they owe here and here and here. It's a lot more work for them, and it's just not profitable for them to do that, which is why often they'll have this rule, they just don't work with indie authors. Doesn't mean that indie authors have bad books. It doesn't mean that they're critical of indie authors. It just means for most bookstores, working with indie authors is not a profitable business model, and it's more pain than it's worth. Some things are changing. More recently, Powell's has opened up to indie authors a lot more, and it's easier. Even I know a lot of local Portland authors who have gotten into Powell's, and Powell's even features them. They put a little handwritten note saying this is a local indie author, because Portland book buyers really like to support indie authors. So it's less of a risk for Powell's to support those kind of books, because they know that's what readers want. The other thing you can do for getting your book into bookstores is just on a consignment basis. And that way it's no risk to the bookstores. They don't have to buy your books. You just give them the books and they put them for sale. If they sell the books, then they'll send you some money. So it's no risk for them, and they're more likely to accept that kind of offer. But for you, what that means is probably you send them 5 books, they'll sell a few of them and they'll send you a royalties check, and it won't be for very much money. It might be 10 or 20%. So you might be making, $10 a month. So if you're doing this work and you're mailing these books to all these bookstores and paying the shipping, or even if you're just dropping them off, and then you're collecting your consignment checks, which are, $10 a month, you're going to be doing a lot of work for not very much money. And it's not the best use of your time or your resources, because even if you're selling, maybe you're in a bookstore, even a popular bookstore, maybe 1,000 people come into that bookstore every month and are seeing your book. That's fine, but if you're basically just paying for impressions, and you could be buying a blog advertisement on the sidebar of a really popular blog targeted to the type of readers that would enjoy your book, instead of just being in a bookstore where you find readers who enjoy all different genres. Maybe 90% of them would never be interested in your book. It'd be more valuable for you to have that ad on a sidebar of a popular blog that's very targeted, like it's a science fiction blog or it's a self-help blog, where 90% of those readers are really going to be interested in your book, and you're getting those kind of impressions, and you're not doing any work. It might cost you $50 to put an ad on a blog like that for a month, and you're not doing any work except paying the $50. And there's a much better chance you can use that ad to drive book sales, to drive ebook sales. And what you can do, you really want to focus on ebook sales because it's easier, because there's less of a price barrier, because you can price really low. Really, you want an author funnel. So you want your free book. 99-cent works, but there's really no substitute for free books. You really want a free book. You want an advertisement or a Facebook ad or that sidebar on a popular blog that gets people to download your free book and get them into your writing. It can be a free offer. It can be something that is a side offer with your main nonfiction book, or it can be a prequel to your fiction book, or even if you have a longer fiction book, it can be the first 10,000 words of your novel, and the other 90,000 words can be the $2.99 upsell. You have to get them reading your book first and aware of your platform before you're going to have any success really selling books. So what you can do, instead of trying to focus on getting in bookstores, which I think is a wasted effort, is to another anecdote I was going to tell you, because I've done this before and I've been in bookstores. I had a bookstore in Australia who wanted 50 copies of my book, but I had to buy and mail 50 copies to Australia, and the shipping cost was way more expensive than any of the profit that I made. So it's very possible to get into bookstores with enough hard work, but unless you're doing a big event, like you're doing a book signing, and it's something you can show up for, and it's something you can take pictures of. I wouldn't do it often, but like if you can do it once and take a bunch of really nice pictures of you and your books in a bookstore setting, giving a reading or signing books, that makes you look like a more established professional author. And you can use those pictures on your blog as a kind of publicity stunt. That's worth doing. But in terms of daily book sales, it's not where you should focus your efforts. If you're doing any kind of advertising, you get them into the free book. The free book gets them to like you and your writing. You introduce yourself, you give them some content that they like. There's no barrier because it's free. That's where you want to drive all the readers. At the end of that book, you say, come and sign up to my list for more free books, for more offers, or you just send them directly to the next book in the series. Or, if you have a lot of nonfiction books, you could have a list of, you might want to check out these books next, or go sign up to my email list. If you're giving away lots of those free books, like thousands a month, then you're funneling all of those readers into your email list or to buy your other books in your series. That's when you're going to start to see some earnings. You don't want to start off with 1 or 2 books and set them all at $3.99, because you're going to have to work really hard to get those first sales. Later, when your books have over 100 reviews and they're selling well, then you can set the price up to whatever, probably $3.99, because people are already going to know about your book. It's already going to be proving itself with the reviews. But in the beginning, when you have very few reviews and no platform, you really have to push, not trying to sell your books, but just trying to get people to start reading your books for free, because that's even a challenge. Just putting it out there for free is not going to work. You have to drive people to that free offer to make it successful. So bookstores, it's kind of the wrong question. A lot of self-published authors will see getting into bookstores as the thing that defines their success. They'll feel successful as an author if they're in bookstores, but having that as your goal, it's kind of an empty goal, because even if you succeed and you make it in your bookstores, it feels really good, but you're probably losing money to be in bookstores, and you should be trying to sell books. Your number one priority should be getting your Amazon ranking as high as possible into those number one best-selling slots. And that's not going to happen if people are buying from bookstores, unless you're selling 1,000 copies a week from bookstores, which you're not going to do as a self-published author in the beginning. There's no value in selling from bookstores. What you want to be doing is focusing all of your sales on Amazon so that you're driving that bestseller rank and staying visible. Because otherwise, if you're just in bookstores, you're invisible online, where you really need to be. The most powerful efforts are all going to be your blog, your email list, and your Amazon ranking. So kind of don't worry about the bookstores right now. When you're looking at bookstores, you're just looking at a very, very small market. And you want to be doing things that are visible to thousands of people with very little effort or very little expense on your part. So you're looking at the end results. You need to be looking at building your online platform and selling books. Selling books needs to be your priority, or even giving away, make it a goal to give away 10,000 books. And if you can hit that, that's going to do big things for your other platform. But don't focus on getting 2 books in a bookstore down the street, because that's going to take so much of your time and effort away from the things that really matter for book sales and book marketing. So I'm just answering a bunch of questions about publishing. And the next one is going to be, how do I even get into contact with a publisher? So a little bit more about publishing your book traditionally, if that's what you want to do. That's not necessarily what I recommend, but we'll talk about it in the next video. You can also get this little ebook for free, which is 100 publishing questions answered. And I just answer all these questions that people ask me frequently about. You can find that on my blog or online for Amazon. It'll be free there too soon. So thanks for watching. Bye-bye.